Good morning.
Good morning.
No prelude today. We are so happy to welcome you to the final community chapel service of 23-24 academic year. You'll notice today we're rearranged somewhat. We have these two beautiful new screens. You're able to see both the participants, one screen and the slide. So we thank Daniel for this. We're having a few little audio things, but he's on his way back. So I just am here to welcome you and to do the land acknowledgement and to welcome our special preaching guests, as well as we are really delighted to have Paul with us, as well as his wife, McKinney. For the first time. Can you all hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you hear me online okay? All right. So I have known Reverend Kamal and McKinney for years and years and years. We were together in St. Andrew Presbyterian Church in Marin City before he became pastor of Sojourner Truth. So McKinney has been a community worker and activist in Marin City. And so we are just delighted to have you with us today. Oh, I'm also excited to welcome someone who is not a stranger to some of you because you're brand new students, but to many of you, not a stranger to us, and that's Dr. Joyce del Rosario. She's currently serving as the Director of Multi-Ethnic Programs at Seattle Pacific University in her hometown. But prior to that, she was our Assistant Professor of the Practice of Ministry and the Director of Community Engaged Learning here at Pacific School of Religion up until summer of 2022. So we are delighted to welcome you to our service. We look forward to the message that you're going to bring. Your presence was very important in the lives of many of those who are part of this graduating class. So as we come to the end of this semester, we've been talking about building a world where all can thrive. We started out with imagining, and then we went to deconstructing. Then we went to healing. What did we go to next? And so today we're on rebuilding because as we think about a world where all can thrive, we can't just stop with taking things apart. We have to put them back together. And so today we are talking about the art of rebuilding together. And again, as we sit here in this sacred space, we remember the Chochenyo-speaking Ohlone people who stewarded this land. The mission that we live out today would not ever be possible.
No, tomorrow is
Stewardship.
yeah. Tomorrow's nutritionist.
Let's see.
Technology's on the night.
Can you mute, please?
We're going to ask everyone to mute.
Census. My gender affirming care.
You will have an opportunity to speak later in the program. So we're very grateful, as you'll see when we talk about the senior gift this year. It's going to be divided between a PSR Student Emergency Fund and donations to the Sobriete Land Trust, so that we put our words into action and not just everybody's doing land acknowledgements now. But it's important that we absorb the words, but also translate the words into action. So welcome. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm kind of We're still be figuring out our configuration, but I'm so happy to see you all today. And we are going to, as you're willing and able to rise, as we sing, gather us in, we will be accompanied by the distinguished Dr. Bernard Shaw. We'll be singing stanzas 1, 2, and 4 is number 284 in the chalice hymnal.
Shadows of power vanished away. See this face, light of beauty. I'm here to hear in the light of this day. Gather us in the lost and forsaken. Gather us in the spirit of play. All us now and we shall awaken. We shall arise at the sound of our name. We are the only and for your face. We have this song, the Lord history, until he rides in the grace. Never the spirit, the rich and the haughty, never sing the blind and the strong. Give us our hearts so weak and so lonely. Give us the courage to enter the song.
Sorry, the lyrics on the screen are long.
Knowledge of heaven, light to way. But here in this place, the light is shining. Now is the day, and now is the day. Gather us in and hold us forever. Gather us in and make us your own. Gather us in, all peoples together. Father will love in our flesh and our bone.
You may be seated. So with our responsive reading, it's going to become responsive because one side will say the big print and you all will say the smaller italicized print, or you all can say the big print and you all can say, which you choose. All right, you all say the big print and you all say the italicized print, and on line you can choose whatever you would like. So beginning with this side.
Power we become from power. We become power with courage and bravery, refusing to be intimidated or terrorized by them. Who are the ones whose power we confront? Those who use their power to reduce death. Why do we confront their power? Because there are people who produce death, human beings like us, and they must be held responsible for the evil that they spread. By whose authority do we confront this power? By the authority of Shipra the Nebuah, enact the staff of resistance, refusing to obey orders. By whose authority do we confront this power? By the authority of that servant, boldly demanding, let my people go. By whose authority do we confront this power? By the authority of Esther and Haman, using their powers within a corrupt system and singing songs of reversal, refusing to be silent. By whose authority do we confront this power? by the authority of all the prophets who call out profession in the praises of the laity. By whose authority do we confront this power?
Call a name that has meaning to you. By the authority of
When words are denied.
speaking in actions. When words are not to us.
By whose authority do we confront this power? By the authority of Jesus of Nazareth, who calmly confronted the powers that be, preserving life with many silence.
And all together, like so many who have gone before and are among us now.
Let us be unafraid of confronting the powers that deny liberation and only bring death by the power of our own word.
So we're going to invite you, again, as you're willing and able in body or spirit, to rise as we sing, We Rise. We'll sing the first two slides of this, and then we'll come back to the rest of it later.
With spirits loud, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we rise. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we rise. Our religion will be right. Our is the face of now. Ancestors surround us now. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here.
Well, it's my honor today to present the graduate awards. I hope I don't mess this up for many reasons today. I think I'm going to start with, not the first one, maybe the second one. All right, we are presenting four awards, right? Four awards. Today has been a day, people. Okay. The first award I would like to announce today is called the Michael M. Mendiola Prize in Ethics. Dr. Michael Manuel Mendiola was an associate professor of Christian ethics at the Pacific School of Religion from 1994 to 2008. He focused his scholarly research, writing, and teaching in the field of ethics. He was especially interested in bioethics and sexual ethics, with particular reference to lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people. In 1998, Professor Mendiola founded the seminary's Bay Area Faith and Health Consortium, seeking to explore the ways in which communities of religious faith and the healthcare sector might work together to promote human health and well-being. Through the vote of the faculty and consideration of the faculty, this year's 2024 Mendiola Prize seeks to recognize the work of students whose writing or projects demonstrate ways to bridge our ethical values with the needs of humankind across the spectrum of our various identities. This year's recipient presented a project that has done just that with measurable impact. The project received community recognition and national attention under the title Hidden in Plain Sight. This title describes the work of the Lutheran Campus Ministry to alleviate the homelessness crisis of college students in Fort Collins, Colorado. This student plays a key role in that initiative, and we are proud to present the Michael Mendiola Prize in Ethics to D.L. Lopez. The next award is called the Paul Wesley Yinger Preaching Award. The Paul Wesley Yinger Preaching Award is presented each spring to the graduating student judged to be the most outstanding preacher with demonstrated dramatic skills. The recipients, if there are plural, are selected each year by a committee of the faculty. Dr. Yinger's family and friends established the endowed award, a noted United Church of Christ preacher who also served as a trustee of the Pacific School of Religion from 1962 to 1985. The 2024 Paul Wesley Yinger Preaching Award is given to a preacher from our community, a student, as one of our faculty wrote, a profound preacher of rare creativity and skill, who employs their digital tools to resurrect and deepen interest in preaching and worship. The prize today is given to Reverend Sarah Tevis Towns. Her Doctor of Ministry project, Digital Ministry as Decolonial Praxis, was, quote, off the charts, requiring no revisions. Her ability to explore digital formats as worship companions was arresting in newness and growing edge technology. Joining her in worship was like meeting worship for the first time. Transcending traditional liturgical forms, she taps into the wealth of the Christian legacy of spreading the good news in ways that liberate rather than oppress. The paradigm shifts she embraces focuses on dialogue and reconciliation. Her preaching captivates and activates her audience. Her videos are published on TikTok and Instagram, and they reach marginalized and diverse audiences in a time of great divisiveness and call for a broader and deeper conversation about the impacts of colonial matrices of power so that all can thrive. Congratulations, Reverend Sarah Tevis Towns. The third prize is called the Marcella Althaus Reed Award in Queering Religion and Theology. To honor the pioneering theological vision of Marcella Althaus Reed, Pacific School of Religion's Center for LGBTQ and Gender Studies in Religion presents an award in her honor for the best student essay on queering religion and theology. Marcela Althaus Reed was born in Rosario, Argentina, and received her degree through a center in Buenos Aires to study liberation theology in Latin America. With a PhD from the University of St. Andrews, she became a professor of contextual theology at the University of Edinburgh. She also trained for the ministry of Methodist Church in Argentina. Her first book, Indecent Theology, published in 2000, quickly raised her profile throughout the theological world. With the publication of Queer God, she was at the forefront of a brand new and controversial field in the academic study of theology. She passed away on February the 22nd, 2009, and this award is in her memory. This is what the faculty wrote about the recipient of the 2024 Marcela Althaus Reed Award. In their final project for the Spring 2024 Senior Integrative Seminar, this student wrote the following words. In the fight for environmental justice, we must recognize that the liberation of trans people of color is inherently intertwined with the protection of our planet. Our struggles are interconnected, and our collective resistance holds the power to create a more equitable and sustainable future for all. Through their ministries, their scholarship, and their mentorship of young people, this PSR graduate lives out a deep commitment to an intersectional understanding of justice that includes the healing of our environment, the liberation of trans people of color, and the creation of a more equitable and sustainable future for all beings. PSR and CLGS are proud to announce this year's recipient of the Marcela Althaus Reed Queering Religion and Theology Award to Jessie Radcliffe. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Wow.
And I have one more award. This is such a fun part of being dean. Because the president gets his time when he actually hands you the diploma. This is my share. Okay, this one is a very dramatic one. So this is the Koinonia Award, and this is by vote of students, the graduating class, and your peers. So this award, did you have an introduction to this, Ms. Ann? Did you give me an introduction? No, you didn't. How am I going to build up drama now? I don't have I don't have a script. Oh, okay. I will do this extempore, as they say. All right. This award, in my opinion, is given to somebody who acts like leaven in the community. They are present. Without them, we'd all know they're not there. But with them, everything rises. I have so many things to say, but I would rather use the words that the community wrote about this student. These are some of the words that were provided. This student has been and continues to act as a peacemaker and sharer of peace and knowledge in all of my semesters thus far. This person has been an active member of the community, including chapel, the community life committee, and has consistently been an inspiration to myself and others. I'm not reading certain words. This student epitomizes all the criteria for this award that was provided to everybody. They bring students together online and in person by organizing formal and informal gatherings. They are an active participant in campus life, in the visioning of our work and other committees. They take their learning into their body and lives out of that learning. PSR would not be the same without the student. And I know the student would say that they would not be the same without PSR. This student is my strong nomination, hands down. They build community and raise the bar on thinking and learning in every class. They assume leadership rather than victimhood or consumership. Person after my own heart. They shape positive change. They use their voice and agency with great care. They nurture the community through concrete practices of all students, faculty, and staff. Their presence has been a game changer for PSR. I could read you all of it, but I'll then drop the gender and everything, and it's not so dramatic. But I am so proud and thrilled to present this year's Koinonia Award to none other than our beloved Mo King.
Whew, wasn't that exciting? So it's always exciting for me. Appreciate you all. You don't have to rise this time, but we're going to sing the next two verses of We Rise. Thank you, Dean Avery, for those presentations. And thank you to our beautiful ensemble. You can, you rise if you want.
You can't sing We Rise instead. It's liturgically amended.
Fighting for life. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're running. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're running. We run. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here.
I'm a potter, which seems like a fairly humble vocation. I know a lot about pots. I spent about 15 years making them. One of the things that really excites me in my artistic practice and being trained as a potter is that you very quickly learn how to make great things out of nothing. That I spent a lot of time at my wheel with mounds of clay, trying stuff. And that the limitations of my capacity, my ability, was based on my hands and my imagination. That if I wanted to make a really nice bowl and I didn't know how to make a foot yet, I would have to learn how to make a foot. That process of learning has been very, very helpful to my life. I feel like as a potter, you also start to learn how to shape the world. There have been times in my artistic capacity that I've wanted to reflect on other really important moments in the history of the US, the history of the world, where tough things happened. But how do you talk about tough ideas without separating people from that content? Could I use art like these old discontinued fire hoses from Alabama to talk about the complexities of a moment of civil rights in the 60s? Is it possible to talk about my father and I doing labor projects? My dad was a roofer, construction guy, he owned small businesses. And at 80, he was ready to retire, and his tar kettle was my inheritance. Now, a tar kettle doesn't sound like much of an inheritance. It wasn't. It was stinky, and it took up a lot of space in my studio. But I asked my dad if he would be willing to make some art with me, if we could reimagine this kind of nothing material as something very special. And by elevating the material and my dad's skill, could we start to think about tar just like clay in a new way, shaping it differently, helping us to imagine what was possible. After clay, I was then kind of turned on to lots of different kinds of materials, and my studio grew a lot because I thought, well, it's not really about the material, it's about our capacity to shape things. I became more and more interested in ideas and more things that were happening just outside my studio. Just to give you a little bit of context, I live in Chicago. I live on the south side now. I'm a west sider. For those of you who are not Chicagoans, that won't mean anything. But if I didn't mention that I was a west sider, there would be a lot of people in the city that were very upset. The neighborhood that I live in is Grand Crossing. It's a neighborhood that has seen better days. It is not a gated community by far. There's lots of abandonment in my neighborhood. And while I was kind of busy making pots and busy making art and having a good art career, there was all of this stuff that was happening just outside my studio. All of us know about failing housing markets and the challenges of blight. And I feel like we talk about it with some of our cities more than others, but I think a lot of our US cities and beyond have the challenge of blight, abandoned buildings that people no longer know what to do anything with. And so I thought, is there a way that I could start to think about these buildings as an extension or an expansion of my artistic practice? And that if I was thinking along with other creatives, architects, engineers, real estate finance people, that us together might be able to kind of think in more complicated ways about the reshaping of cities. And so I bought a building. The building was really affordable. We tricked it out. We made it as beautiful as we could to try to just get some activity happening on my block. Once I bought the building for about $18,000, I didn't have any money left. And so I started sweeping the building as a kind of performance. I was like, no, this is performance art. And people would come over and I'd start sweeping because the broom was free and sweeping was free. It worked out. But we would use the building then to stage exhibitions, small dinners, and we found that that building on my block, Dorchester, we now refer to the block as Dorchester Projects, that in a way, that building became a kind of gathering site for lots of different kinds of activity. We turned the building into what we call now the Archive House. The Archive House would do all of these amazing things. Very significant people in the city and beyond would find themselves in the middle of the hood. And that's when I felt like there was maybe a relationship between my history with clay and this new thing that was starting to develop. that we were slowly starting to reshape how people imagined the south side of the city. One house turned into a few houses. And we always tried to suggest that not only is creating a beautiful vessel important, but the contents of what happens in those buildings is also very important. So we were not only thinking about development, but we were thinking about the program. Thinking about the kind of connections that could happen between one house and another, between one neighbor and another. That this building became what we call the listening house. And it has a collection of discarded books from the Johnson Publishing Corporation and other books from an old bookstore that was going out of business. I was actually just wanting to activate these buildings as much as I could with whatever and whoever would join me.
Let's welcome Dr. Joyce del Rosario.
Thank you, Ms. Ann. Hello, can you hear me, everyone? All right, can you hear me? Yes? I'm good, okay.
Yes, we can.
Well, it is good to be back with you all, new faces and familiar faces. I am honored to be here for this graduate chapel. It's not about the materials, it's our capacity to shape things. Graduates, let me say this to you again. It's not about the materials, it's our capacity to shape things. The title for today is The Art of Rebuilding Together. Graduates, friends, as you venture off into your next chapters, I invite you to rebuild your congregations and your communities of concern together. As our young undergraduate protesters have reminded us, and as the work of the United Methodist Reconciling Ministries has recently experienced, change happens in solidarity. But we must remember, solidarity must continue. It's important throughout the whole process of rebuilding. We need solidarity as we decolonize and call forth more just systems of inclusion, but we also need solidarity as we rebuild together what the new systems and buildings and structures look like. PSR students, for many of you, I'm sure in your assignments, you've been asked to draw from sacred texts in your work. Today, I'd like us to draw from sacred practices, specifically that of co-creating through art. If you have taken any of my classes, which in 2022 was the last time I taught, you are probably familiar with the artist, and although he doesn't know it yet, and he has no idea who I am, my future husband, Theaster Gates. We speak what we hope. The reason for this is because the work of Gates is community development through art. Over the past 3 years, I have come to experience art museums as sanctuaries for me to interact with the divine. When I stand in front of a piece of art by native artist Jean Quick-to-See Smith or iconic contemporary artist Jean-Michel Basquiat, there is a divine spark that happens to my senses. With the artist's work, with what I experience with the divine, and with my relationship to others. I'm invited by the artist to feast at the proverbial table on what I can only describe as soul food. Artist and theologian Maria Fee says this about Gates. Through art, Gates conveys aspects of God's inviting character via correlating acts of care, reconciliation, and revitalization. Maria Fee describes Theaster Gates' work of rebuilding as holy practices of hospitality. Graduates, friends, We are invited today to rebuild our communities as holy practices of hospitality. We are co-creators with and the embodiment of God's abundant and lavish love for us all. We are not just called to address issues of injustice and call the powerful to account. We are also called to, and as documented by your degrees now, equipped to rebuild and co-create new environments of welcome, justice, and love. Unlike the agenda of a capitalistic rebuild, this type of rebuilding I'm speaking of today is a practice based on the theology of hospitality. A capitalistic centered rebuild focuses on what the developer can gain, the return on investment. Rebuilding in a hospitality centered focus, the rebuilding in this kind of practice focuses on how the built environment affects, transforms, informs, and welcomes others. In this kind of build, the developer's return on investment is not how the rich get richer, but where we all get to live in each other's richness. Graduates, as you go forth and rebuild, I invite you to consider implementing the following strategy in your work. Asset-based building. What are the assets that you hold today? Well, for one, you have a degree, or you will have a degree, that signifies the time that you spent to reflect on, consider, and respond to the world around us and how we see God's presence in it. The degree itself is honestly just a piece of paper, an expensive piece of paper, but piece of paper nonetheless. What's important are the conversations and the readings and the writings that you did to arrive at that degree. Your asset is your critical thinking skills. You are now equipped to queer the texts, reimagine the answers, and build completely new environments. Ask the hard questions. Challenge the systems. Interrogate what has always been. Your asset is your transformed theology. Hopefully by now, your view of God has been challenged and reshaped, or at least a bit agitated. Because out of this agitation comes the sharpening and the defining of our shapes. The agitation gets rid of the hard and crusted formations we have carried that were merely just covering up our true selves. Hundreds of years of colonization and patriarchy have crusted our formation, and as Dr. Willie Jennings calls it, has malformed us. Dear graduates, my prayer for you today is to knock off some of that crust and go forth and be more refined and be a little bit more liberated and be a little bit more brilliant as you shine. Your assets are your classmates and your professors with whom you have co-created great insights with. You now have read new scholars, new books, new articles. You have new friends who you have lived through class with and life with. I know many of my classes at PSR, we have often cried and laughed together. May these be your relationships for the years to come. May those sacred classroom times forever form how you see the world. Your assets are your communities and your congregations. Co-create hospitality. Reimagine together, rebuild together. You do not need to have all the answers, but you do need each other. Yasser Gates spent all of his money, $18,000, on the house to rebuild, and then invited others when all he had left was the ability to sweep. But in that invitation, they imagined with him. They took care of the building with him. They swept with him and they built with him. And they contributed to the rebuild of the house offered what they had in solidarity. And then they bought another property and another property and another property. This type of rebuilding takes time. It's not quick capitalistic work, worried about seeing returns as soon as possible to make as much money as possible. This type of rebuilding that I'm inviting all of us today is a type that takes the time it takes to build a relationship. It takes time to see each other. It takes time to see each other's gifts. It takes time to define and imagine what we want to create together. And what do we do in the meantime of that time it takes to build? Well, we break bread together. The Gates built the Soul Food Pavilion to invite others to the table to dine and experience the foods of Black people. He created an environment for the ritual of eating, for art, for spoken word and music, and for co-creating conversations. Take your classroom conversations to the table. Take our tables to our communities. A lot of you already do this. Invite each other to eat together. Invite each other to dance together. Invite each other to garden together. Gates built the Soul Food Pavilion to intentionally gather people. It is an artful practice informed by the idea of Jesus's kenosis, or pouring out of self. As a rebuilder, as a developer, as a table host, we pour ourselves out. Maria Fee describes this act as God honors God's self by liberating humanity from having to play God, yet it can now partake of the divine communion as God's guests. He reminds us that koinonia literally means joint sharing, not joint sharing, but like joint sharing. No, one of you was probably thinking that, so I had to call that out. We celebrate our brother Mo with the Koinonia Award, as he has poured out to many of us, myself included. As we rebuild, may we all pour ourselves out to one another. May we rebuild one another. May we rebuild one another together. Graduates and friends, I invite us all today to gather at the table and rebuild together today, tomorrow, and for the time to come. Amen.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We're going to make a little bit of an adjustment. Here, we're going to go to the community prayer of blessing. You all have slips of paper. You should have slips of paper in your hand. What I want you to do, if you're online, please write your wishes for the graduates, or the prayer that you have for the graduates. For those of you who are here, we will invite you to write those and to bring those up to the bamboo plate, and then light a candle in symbolism of the graduate. So, Pastor Kamal, let's go past the blessings upon blessings. We'll come back to that before the end of the service. Pastor Kamal, if you would come and do a prayer blessing for our graduates.
In the name of our Divine Mother, under the power of wisdom, Sophia, she who is, and attempting to follow the way of Yeshua, the Christ, we offer a blessing to the graduates of the class of 2024. It is an attempt to sacralize, to share with them the beauty that God has shared with us, to wish them well in their sacred work, to assure them that wherever they go, they do not go alone because our hearts are with them. To bid them rest in the truth that what upholds us is everlasting. Having first shouts of joy for, hey, we made it through. But oh my, look at what awaits us now. A world where bombs are falling as I am praying, where famine is known, where those unhoused exist in places where there are 29 empty dwellings for each one of them. A place where the jails are filled to bursting with Black and brown bodies. And the right of women to make decisions about their own bodies is heavily under attack. Oh, we need this class of graduates right about now.
Yes, yes.
Where in place after place, laws are being enacted to deny the humanity of queer people. And certainly the divine looks and cries. But there is hope in truth. There is hope in beauty. There is hope in stretching our arms and our hearts across the barriers and the boundaries, the external and even the internal that have been erected by systems of injustice and untruth. But because of truth and beauty, because beauty does rise from ashes, and because you have been prepared and encouraged and challenged and equipped. When the waters rise, we know you will rise with them. You will not be silent. You will not choose the wide and easy gate, but the narrow one that leads to righteousness and truth and beauty. Go on now. Come back and visit, but go on now. Go on to the hard places. Go on to the bleak places. Go to the places where people are losing hope. Go to the places where the evil think they have won. Just as they did on Good Friday. Oh, but God had a surprise. You! You're the surprise. You're the truth. You're the beauty. Go from here to share. Again and again and again. In the name of all that is holy, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Well, years ago, at a particularly sticky moment in my office, and some of you know how sticky moments happen in my office, I invited Pastor Kamal to pray. And I can tell you that sticky moment got unstuck. It was almost miraculous because it was a very, very difficult moment. I am just not moved by your capacity to pray. I'm moved by what you bring down when you pray. So I thank you for that. But before I articulate my words of gratitude to Pastor Kamal, I actually want to invite President David to say a few words.
Good afternoon or good morning, everyone. We take a moment to give a deep word of gratitude, Pastor Kamal, for your leadership here at PSR over many years in a variety of different roles. But I wanted to acknowledge at this chapel the leadership you have offered as an adjunct professor, teaching in our courses in field education to help students really discern the connections between the ways that we live in the world and we understand our theories behind them. So for the ways that you have helped to handle that and to lead that and to help students find their own voice, their own steps to action within the community and to reflect on those sticky moments of their own ministry and life, we are deeply grateful. We look forward to our continued partnership as we serve as campus pastor this coming year here at PSR and for the ways that you have helped to shape our work. As somebody who is blessed by your leadership, not just here at PSR, but also in our neighborhood, and with the communities that we know, we look forward to continuing partnership with you in the life and in the work of preparation of leaders for the church and the society. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, President David. As Professor Joyce del Rosario, and how I miss you, said that the capacity to shape things is what we have. Without this faculty, our students would not be who they were called to be, meant to be, and dreamt to be. The divine dreamt, as Pastor Kamal said, you were meant to be the surprise, but we need the shapers. And I do want to celebrate one of those shapers because of your vote, because of the information you provided, we did award a Faculty Excellence Award this year. I had not prepared a plaque for you. I know now she's going to be very embarrassed, but that's the whole point. I did not have a plaque prepared, but then this plaque has a story to it. This is not the plaque. Because of the wonderful work of Brianna and Laura helping, the plaque is still arriving, but we made something to recognize your wonderful work with our students, Professor Lisa Asadilio. So would you come and receive this homemade plaque? You can keep that one and the other one. She'll have two plaques now. Our students are themselves fantastic examples of our mission. They embody our mission. They embody PSR's message to the world. I do want to recognize very much Shannon Marks, who's in our presence today in person, and her work with the Board of Trustees. Thank you, Shannon, very, very much. And I know I'm very rude at orientation when I say to many of our students, welcome, now when are you leaving? I know it's rude, but it's also dramatic. The point is, the Office of Academic Affairs works very, very hard to get our students through the program. And there is no joy greater than seeing you receive your diploma. It is far, far worse if you were to just stay stuck. So I do want to also thank my office for all the work that they do behind the scenes to move you along to your path on fulfilling your vocation. But as some leave, others rise. And Kaisho, in anticipation of your leadership on the Board of Trustees, thank you in advance. I also want to thank everybody who makes chapel so meaningful, especially Ms. Anne and the students that prepare. This is so amazing. This is so amazing. This integration of the spiritual and the intellectual. And Daniel, what a marvel you are. Thank you. And the last thing which President David asked me to share with you is I will not be at graduation. I got scolded, thank you. I will not be at graduation, but I will be representing PSR in Palermo, which is in Sicily, in Italy. Palermo is a very interesting place, look it up. But it is the place where boatloads of refugees land. It is also the place where many people come and die because the journey from Africa is so hard to make it to the European or Italian mainland. There are many Catholic missions there serving these refugees, and I will be at 2 different meetings. I chair the board of an international journal of theology called Concilium. We are meeting in Palermo in order to contextualize the international work that we do. Our work has to be relevant to the people, and that's what we want to do by our presence there. But I will be opening the European Academy of Religion next Monday at 9 a.m., which is why I couldn't bilocate and be here for graduation and over there. So I will miss you all, but Professor Bernie Schlager, has very graciously, agreed to be my stand-in and be dean for the day. So thank you all and good luck.
Thank you so much to everybody. We're doing what we call, this is what I call the editing of the Holy Spirit. I won't sew with it, which means basically we're just changing everything all up. But I want to recognize the graduates that are in the house. Anion, you're here, and Kenneth Watson, and I'm missing any of them. Would you just stand so we can? Graduates online, wave your hand too. So those of you who have written wishes, for the, we're going to skip the collective benediction. You can read it on your own another time. But please bring your wishes up to the bamboo plate and light a candle in honor of a graduate, purple candle. And as we listen to this song, Blessings Upon Blessings, I want to give another shout out to Laura Ryan, our Minister of Hospitality. They're reception. And for sales announcements, we'll make sure there are 3 things coming up for CLGS, and we can send out the slides and the pictures with those announcements. If you want to be a part of the commencement ensemble, see me. I'll be getting music out this week to folks, and you can use your beautiful voices. For those of you who may not be quite sure when commencement is, Sunday, May the 19th at 4:00 p.m. at First Presbyterian Church, 2407 Day Street in Berkeley. We're looking for volunteers, so you can see me about that as well. So I invite you, though, to listen to the beautiful words of this song, Blessings Upon Blessings, because that is what we wish you, our graduates, and to everyone. We wish this to you, and you're invited to bring your blessings to the altar. Okay, thank you.
Right here. Nice.
May I always walk the path of love, radiate my beauty below, inside, above. I will open up my heart each day anew to the love of family, love of life, and the love of you. This is a beginning, not an end. Ah, blessings upon blessings, my friend. Ah, blessings upon blessings, my friend. And may I always live a life in peace, that every precious moment sees our unity increase. May every word I speak be strong and true, and I will always see the face of God in the face of you. This is a beginning, not an end. Yes. Ah, blessings upon blessings, my friend. Ah, blessings upon blessings, my friend. And I'm committed to service. I can change the world with my two hands and open heart to understand. And may I always shine my inner light, the colors of the rainbow rising up to brilliant white. No matter where my choices lead me to, there will always be a place inside my heart for you. Yeah, yeah. This is a beginning, not an end. Ah, blessings upon blessings, my friend. And like the stars that warm the darkest night, we will always fill the world with our love, our life, our light. This is a beginning, not an end. All blessings upon blessings, my friend. All blessings upon blessings, my friend. Like the stars that warm the darkest night, we will always fill the world with our love, our life, our life. This is a beginning, not an end. Ah, blessings upon blessings, blessings upon blessings, blessings upon blessings, my friend. Blessings upon blessings, my friend.